Is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Friday. It is Friday, the Friday edition of the Stochastic NHL Strategy Show. I'm your host, Josh Harris. I see my internet's off to a great start. One little earthquake, orange red, just unbelievable. But joining me, as always, Slim Cliffy. What's going on?
Oh, nothing. Just a quiet little Friday here. Nice little 6-game slate tonight. Want to shout out. We did have a couple people do pretty well last night. B Wireman 89 had a bunch of takedowns last night. He had the $5 single entry, $12 single entry, finished top 3, and a bunch of 3 max and 4 max and 20 max stuff. Winnipeg, Nashville, which was a really good build for him. Their top lines, and then UC Saros and net, and it was UC Saros that really made the big difference. Saros with 44 saves. I certainly did not anticipate St. Louis putting up 47 shots on goal last night, but that put him over the top. He had a pretty good night. We also had somebody reach out to us on Twitter about taking down, I think it was the $1 last night. So the $1 hit checks. So pretty good nights all around. I unfortunately, it's funny because after the show, you and I were talking, and I was like, I think I'm just going to use the 2 lines that I put in my article, which were Winnipeg 1 and Nashville 1. And then you said you were probably going to use them. And I was like, well, I'm not going to just copy the lineup. I had a couple others that I liked. So I went to I went to Tampa and Nashville. I had Tampa 1 and the Novak line from Nashville. So I got 13 goals from the 2 teams I stacked. But obviously I didn't have Nick Paul. I didn't have Steven Stamkos. I had the cheap Nashville guys. So I didn't have Philip Forsberg, Gustav Nyquist. I had Jankowski. He did all right. I had Novak. He did all right. Evangelista did all right. Had Yossi, but, good enough. Didn't cash. Should have just used Winnipeg 1, Nashville 1. But, Tampa Bay absolutely laid the hammer on Montreal last night. I was out, got home. It was 6-2. Montreal made it 6-4. That was as close as they got. But you got to admit, Tampa over the last month looks like a whole different team than they did basically the first 4 months of the season. If they keep playing like this going into the playoffs, I don't know if they're as good as Florida and Carolina, but I think they're good enough to beat one of them if they, get hot for a couple weeks.
Well, Nikita Kucherov is having a MVP Hart type season. Whether he gets it, who knows? But I don't know, man. Like Gabriel Velarde, another hat trick. Kings are definitely regretting that trade. But I used Winnipeg Nashville 1. But I used Charlie Lindgren in that, and I used the second pair for the Islanders, Pulak Pelech for a 3-3-2. Didn't go too well there, but I still cashed. And then my dumbass, I thought I bet $10 on a 2 full line goal parlay. Winnipeg 1 full line goal and Nashville 1 full line goal, 69-1, which was nice. But I didn't put $10 on it. I put 10 cents on it. So instead of winning $700, I won $7. Treated myself to some pain this morning. But yeah, this is a pretty interesting slate, actually, because there's some big boys on this slate again. Colorado, Edmonton, they're playing each other again. Now Dreisaitl's up on the top line with McDavid, so they're really, really expensive. We'll see. We'll break that game down, but that's going to be tough to fit 25 and change. There's a bunch of games with playoff implications on this slate somehow. The Red Wings, the Sabres, the Flyers, the Capitals. That's it. It's basically the East Coast games. But it's a semi-important slate, and some of these bad teams are playing each other and it's important. Like the Flyers-Sabres is a very important game tonight, and that just, I don't know. That's the first game we're going to break down. So let's get into it. Before we do, just want to say thank you again for all the support through the affiliate signups through the super chats, through all the banter, just for even liking the video, sharing the video, telling your friends, telling your moms, what's up, moms, and going from there. Oh, I was just kidding. But yeah, I appreciate it. So does Cliffy. Let's get into it. It's Friday, man. Got no help for the boys. They're sitting right here. So if you hear some baby music going off, my kids. Philadelphia Flyers with a 2.9 total. Heading into Buffalo, the Sabres have a 3.1 total. So it wasn't Thursday. It was it Wednesday? No, it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday when we were both on Buffalo one, and they had a really good game. Paterka had a 3-point game. Thompson had a 3-point game. Everyone on that line had a 3-point game. We got the bonuses. This is another pretty good matchup. Like the Flyers, these lines, Konechny, Frost, Forrester, Tippett, Lawton, Brink, like they don't really scare me defensively at all. I mean, the Frost Konechny line has been very good. Don't get me wrong. Like, and it's a pretty big sample too. But like, the Flyers goaltending has been very, very iffy. And, I don't mind Buffalo 1 here because of that. What I do mind with Buffalo 1 is they're coming off a very, very big game, and they have 16% projected ownership. That's what I do. The goalies aren't great for Philly. That Frost, Konechny, Forrester line, pretty good defensively. The second line, Lawton, Brink, Tippett, not as good. So if you want to go to Benson, Cousins, Quinn as a filler, I think that's okay. But honestly, I think my interest is more on the Philly side here. Konechny, Frost, Forrester, fully correlated at 15K with 6.6% projected ownership. A little bit of negative leverage, but their sample is good. Buffalo 1, good offensively, not good defensively at all. You want to go to the Tippett 1 off, I think that's fine. Like Buffalo's 2, even worse defensively. Like Buffalo's been a good 5-on-5 team all season until they moved Paterka to the top line, and all the other lines kind of just fell into place as not great defensively. So I think my favorite line in this game is Frost, Konechny, Forrester. They're fully correlated. I know Buffalo struggles on the penalty kill, but the Flyers' power play just sucks. But they are fully correlated. It's 15K. Maybe they donk one in there with Drysdale. Like Drysdale's back on that unit. So hopefully they can maybe figure it out on the power play. But for 15K and less than half the ownership of the Buffalo top line, coming off a big game and feels like facing a little bit, I'm going to Konechny, Frost, Forrester.
Yeah, I'll start on the Philly side as well. I do like the Flyers top line here for basically all the reasons that you mentioned. Forster and Konechny have played a lot together this year. A lot of that times with Sean Couturier, who's now injured. I'm sure, we kind of rather see him. But, Forster and Konechny have 145 minutes together this season at 5-on-5 with any center but Couturier. 2.6 expected goals, 2.8 actual goals. It's not that bad. Forster's been playing a lot lately, a couple games over 20 minutes over the last week. They're all on the top power play unit, which we've been saying most of the season doesn't really matter for the Flyers. But the power play's legitimately been at least fine with Jamie Drysdale, right? Like they've had 5 different defensemen skate at least 40 minutes at 5-on-4 this season. Only one of them has been on the ice for at least 50 shots per 60 minutes. And with Drysdale, they're at 61 shots. So like they've been able to create a lot more shots with Drysdale running the power play. The goals are fine, like 7.5 goals per 60 with Drysdale on the ice. It's not great, but it's certainly a lot better than what they have. Sanheim's at 4.5, Cam York's at like 3. So like he's double those guys. The power play has been better. Buffalo penalty killed, not that great. Buffalo's, just a little bit above average by minor penalties taken per game over the last 6 weeks. So I'm kind of with you, especially where there's not that much ownership. 6.6% on that top line. Like I said, Forrester's had a couple 20-minute games recently. Travis Konechny has been, over 20 games quite a bit, basically since American Thanksgiving. Frost doesn't usually get there, but he could, depending how the rest of the game goes. And that Buffalo top line, not good defensively, as you mentioned. Like, I looked at their numbers with JJ Peterka, 3.6 expected goals against, 3 actual goals against per 60. Now, they're scoring well, which is why we do play them in DFS, but they're giving up quite a bit. And I kind of like Flyers 1 here as well. So I'm with you here. Flyers 1, very much in play. 15K, you can get another good stack in besides them, as long as you're not playing Colorado or Edmonton or something like that. So Philly 1. Also want to shout out Philly 3 here because there are a couple super expensive lines we'll talk about in that Colorado Edmonton game. So if you're stacking out of that, you might need a very cheap stack elsewhere. I want to shout out the Farabee, Atkinson, Noah Cates line. Now, in our top stacks, it's technically listed as the 4th line. This isn't the 4th line. Like, Joel Farabee will probably play like 15 minutes. Noah Cates, probably like 13 or so. Cam Atkinson, I mean, I don't think he'll play a lot, but he certainly won't play like 8 or 9 minutes or something like that unless they just bench him, which they could. But Farabee and Cates have actually played together quite a bit this season, and at 140 minutes together, they're at 3.1 expected goals for, 3.4 against, 61 shot attempts for, 39 against. They're at 61% of the shot attempt share. They've been really, really good together. I'm not that worried about the 3rd and 4th lines from Buffalo, especially that 3rd line. So I think they're one of those lines that you can use if you're playing the super expensive 23 to 25K lines elsewhere on the slate. But it is Philly 1 that I like best. On the Buffalo side, like I don't mind going back to Buffalo 1. There is a lot of ownership on them, but it's lower than their top 2 stack percentage. If Buffalo wins this game, it's probably going to have to be because of the top line. The 4th line's not really doing a whole lot. The 3rd line's just not getting a ton of minutes. 2nd line's been fine. That Cousins-Benson line has been fine, but not great. I think it would be going back to Buffalo 1, but then they're going to go into that connecting line, which has been good defensively. Like Tyson Forrester's been like just one of the best defensive wingers in the league this year, like not just for rookie, not just on the Flyers, like in the league at all ages. So I think it's a pretty bad matchup. And also, Philly does have Ivan Fedotov in net. He's kind of an unknown. Is he going to be worse than Sam Ersson, or is he going to be better? Like, it'll take 2 years to find that out. He is a highly touted prospect. He is a big prospect in every sense of the word. So maybe this kind of changes, their goals against a little bit here. I don't mind going to Buffalo 1, but I think I agree with you. I'm more on the Philly side here. Philly 1. I think the Cates line is also in play if you're stacking one of the expensive lines elsewhere.
Yeah, question. Someone in the chat said, any love for Bobby Brink? He's 2,600. He is a center on DraftKings, so Philly 2 is double center. But he's on the top power play. The one thing that I worry about with him is ice time. If he scores, Torts is going to bench him. Like, it always happens. I don't understand it. But at 2,600, right, if he plays 11 minutes and hits the score sheet, you'll be fine. I prefer the Philly top line, though. Y'all want me to play Fedotov just so Buffalo smashes? I don't even think you need to play them for Buffalo to smash. Like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. You had an interesting night last night with the stochastic Tyler Tunnell goalie pick. We'll come back. We'll come back to you. Washington Capitals with a 2.4 total. Heading into Carolina, the Hurricanes have a 3.6. Both these teams are on a back-to-back. Excuse me. Washington got run out of the building by Pittsburgh. Carolina lost to someone.
Boston.
Last night. Boston. Yes, Boston. This game's semi-interesting to me. I don't have a ton of love for Washington here. Probably out on Washington, if we're being honest, for a couple reasons. They have a very low road total. Going into Carolina is miserable. And they completely butchered their lines last night. We have no idea what they're going to be. So for that reason, I'm out on Washington. Carolina's a bit more interesting here. They're at home, so they dictate matchups. 22-4 for the top line on Carolina is expensive, especially with Colorado and Edmonton on this slate. 22-4 isn't as cost prohibitive, obviously, as Edmonton won in 25 and change. They should get a pretty good matchup here. Really, you want the Ovechkin matchup, though, and they're probably not going to get that one, just the way that Carolina matches at home. It doesn't really matter, but like Wilson, Ovechkin, McMichael, if they are together, and that's a question mark I just brought up and I forgot in the next sentence, classic Josh, but like Gensel, Aho, Jarvis, fully correlated on the power play, 22-4. I think they're fine. But again, like the way I want to build here tonight, I don't think I'm going to be spending well into the 20,000s on a line in single entry. In 20 max, in 150 max, I think they are perfectly acceptable. This is a very winnable game for them. So I'm good with them in 20 max or 150, obviously. Netchus, Kuznetsov, Martinuk at 12K is interesting as a filler. I think they're fine. I think Svechnikov, Teravine, and Stahl at 12.3 is fine as a filler. I kind of prefer Kuznetsov, Netchus, Martinuk. So I would have some MME interest on all three Carolina lines. I don't think I'm going to prioritize them in single entry, however.
Yeah, I'll just say I have no interest in Washington. We talked yesterday about Boston. I got to think it was because of Frostback that the top line actually did a little bit of damage. We said we did like Pasternak as a one-off, but Pasternak is always in play as a one-off no matter who he's facing. This Washington is not Boston. I think Washington is probably one of the luckiest teams you'll ever see in an actual playoff race. Like this team is minus 38 by goal differential. Just for kind of a barometer here, Ottawa's minus 24. Like this is not a good team by any stretch of the imagination. If it's one of those things, like if you want to one-off some of the cheaper guys, I think that's fine. But I have no interest in stacking Washington here in any way, shape, or form. I do like Carolina here. I do like the Carolina top line here as well. Like these guys have just been destroying. 3.2 expected goals, 4.6 actual goals per 60. They're doing that shooting 11%. Like 4.6 goals per 60 minutes, shooting 11%. 11%. It's high for Carolina. It's not extreme for a very good top line. Like you'll see, certainly Colorado at times, though McKinnon isn't a big shooting percentage guy, but certainly, Edmonton, Toronto, they'll have lines at 11, 12%. Like it's not that big of a deal. They're just creating so much offense when they're on the ice. What I do worry about, it's funny because like a week ago we were talking about how this line was actually getting some ice time. They're actually getting like 20, 21 minutes. That ice time's been going down, fairly steadily over their last handful of games. And if you look just at, Seth Jarvis, because we talked about Jarvis playing like 20 and a half minutes or whatever, his last 3 games, 17:43, 18:24, 19:15. Now, he still over 19 minutes last night, which is good to see. I worry that these guys are going to get Dallas 1, which is like they play 17 minutes because they're up 3-0 after the first period. Like that's kind of my concern with Carolina 1. Other than that, I think this is and honestly, I don't care who they match up against. If it's the Ovechkin line, if it's the Lapierre line, if it's the third line, they're not going to go out against the Dowd line. Other than that, like there's nothing on the Washington side that should really worry people. The Washington penalty kill has also been pretty bad of late. I was looking just over their last 6 weeks, just at 4-on-5. So, one man down rather than, one man or 2 men down or anything like that. Capitals are giving up the 4th most shots per 60 minutes when they're down a man. Montreal is just ahead of them. Arizona, or just behind them. Arizona is just ahead of them. Like, this is how bad the Washington penalty kill has been. That line's perfectly correlated. Like, I think this is a good night to actually play Carolina 1 because Colorado's going to draw a ton of ownership. Edmonton, now that they're over 25K, might not draw as much, but I think Carolina makes Colorado's facing an Edmonton team that's been pretty good defensively since Chris Knobloch took over. Carolina is facing a team whose goal differential is about 50% worse than Ottawa's, and they're at home. Like, I mean, I really do like Carolina 1 here. I like Carolina 2 as well. I imagine Svechnikov is going to get moved up and left with Necas and Kuznetsov. That's what they did last night. I think they're going to try that again after a loss. Necas and Kuznetsov have been pretty high event. Actually, I think they're fine as a filler. The Carolina 3 is fine as a filler. But if I'm playing a line out of this game, I'm going to Carolina 1. I think that this is setting up as a very, very good matchup, both at 5-on-5 and on special teams for that top line. So I really like Carolina 1 here.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I just don't think I'm going to be spending into the 20,000s for what I'm doing tonight. So, if I was 20 maxing, I would easily be over the field. I just don't think.
I noticed how you said spending into the 20,000s as I glance over and see the Panarin line is 19,900.
Let's get to that game. New York Rangers with a 3.2 total heading into Detroit. The Wangs have a 2.8 total. Actually, these iterations of the Detroit lines haven't been awful defensively. I mean, there have been some awful Wings lines. And by wing standards, these aren't awful. They're still pretty bad, but they're not atrocious. That being said, I still do really like the Rangers second line here. Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere. They're under 20K.
That coming from a mile away.
You got me. But I don't know, man. I know Trocheck burned some people the other night. Panarin's having a great season. Lafreniere's having a great season. You get Trocheck and Panarin on the top power play unit. Detroit's penalty kill, not very good. They're coming in at 12.8% projected ownership, at 20.4% top 2 stack. So positive leverage. The Kreider's advantage on the Roslovic line coming in with negative leverage at 15.3. At that point, I think I'd rather just play Philly 1 for that price range. So I'm in on Rangers 2 here. If you want to add in a Zibanejad, you want to add in the Kreider, fine. But New York Rangers second line is probably where I'm looking. If you are spending for Edmonton power play, I don't mind a Rangers third line. You definitely don't have to full stack. Taking Wenberg, Kakko. They don't play a lot of minutes, but Capo Kakko has been pretty active, at least shooting. I know he scored a couple games in a row, but he has been shooting the puck a bit more recently. I don't mind them as a cheap 2-man if you're really not if you really need a dumpster dive. I think Wenberg Kakko is fine as 2-man, but it is Rangers second line for me. On the Detroit side, I think there is some merit to playing Detroit 1 here. Larkin, Kane, DeBrincat. Especially if they're going to go into the Zibanejad line, right? It's always confusing to me how teams treat the Rangers lines at home. If I was the coach, I would send out my best line against Trocheck, Panarin, but coaches don't seem to be doing that. They kind of split it up. And the Kreider's Zibanejad Roslovic line is much worse defensively than Trocheck, Lafreniere, Panarin. So I do think there is merit to going to Larkin, Kane, DeBrincat here. Am I going to prioritize them in single entry? Probably not. But, you get 2 out of the 3 on the top power play unit. You've mentioned a bunch that when Larkin and DeBrincat have been on different power play units, it's actually been effective. The Rangers' penalty kill has been better, but it's not. I think it's quick in net tonight. Whether you want to make the joke it's an upgrade over Igor, you can do it. But I kind of like Detroit 1 here. I have a semicircle around them for single entry. I think there's other lines that I obviously like better, and I probably won't get to them, but they're in consideration for me. But my favorite line, Rangers second line at 19-9.
Big surprise. Yeah, I think part of the Detroit defensive improvements is just they've really been grinding games down, playing to a much slower pace. That's whether that's actually helped them or not. I'll let Detroit Red Wings fans answer that. I think this is a game like we have been talking about third lines. We're going to talk about third lines because it's only a 6-game slate and there are a few very expensive lines on the board. I don't think this is a game where I'm going to the third and fourth lines. I think this is a game where if I'm playing guys out of it, I'm going for the stars. And the question on the Rangers side is Rangers 1 or Rangers 2. Like, I do like Rangers 2. Don't get me wrong. They're perfectly fine to play. I think I'm the opposite way, that I'd rather play Rangers 1 here tonight. And the reason that I say that is just the difference that Jack Roslovic has made on that top line. 2 reasons. One is Jack Roslovic. Like, they're up to 135 minutes with Roslovic. There's 74 shot attempts, 3.6 goals per 60 minutes. Like, just off the top of my head, I think that goal rate is about double what it was when Kaapo Kakko was there. Like, they have actually started scoring. They've actually started shooting a lot. Not only that, since the trade deadline, Mika Zibanejad's shot attempt rate is up 33% with Roslovic next to him. So, like, Zibanejad is actually shooting like a goal-scoring top-line center, like you'd expect one to, and not some guy that's, has as many goals as Brandon Saad. So the fact that they've been legitimately able to turn around the offense of that top line, and the other thing is like there's not a lot in that price range, right? You mentioned Philly. It's basically like Washington, this Rangers line, Philly, the top line, maybe something in Arizona, and then that's about it. And I don't think I'm playing Washington. Philly certainly in play, and I think going to them if you want to get some lower ownership is the right idea. But I think this is a perfectly fine matchup for the Rangers. Not only that, it's not just that it's a fine matchup at 5-on-5 and that they've been creating more at 5-on-5. It's the power play. Detroit's last 20 games, the only team giving up more shots per minute on the penalty kill is San Jose. Detroit is 31st. This is not a team playing well on the penalty kill at all. And we know how lethal the Rangers power play can be. So rather than pay up, nearly $20K for that Rangers second line, I think I'm on the Rangers top line. But honestly, it almost depends what you want to do with the rest of your lineup. Like if you want to put a different $19,000 line in your lineup than Rangers 2, then you go to Rangers 1. If you want to put a different, like if you want to play that Philly top line, then you go to Rangers 2, like that type of thing. I personally like Rangers 1 better. I think both are very much in play here. On the Detroit side, I guess the top line is in play. The Rangers penalty kill has been good. The thing is like they're not getting that much ownership at 7.3%, and that's basically the biggest reason to play them, right? 11.1% top 2 stack, 7.3% expected ownership. Because if you look in that price range, that $17,000 to $19,900 price range, you have that Rangers line, you have Buffalo 1, which we're not so much on. We'll talk about Arizona a little bit later. I think I would probably just kind of choke on the ownership and play Buffalo. But Detroit 1 is certainly in play, but I think I'm with you. I'm not specifically targeting them. And then after that, like Raymond and Perron in their minutes without Dylan Larkin at 47 shot attempts per 60 minutes, that's just nothing. Like they're not creating any offense. You want a one-off Larkin or Perron or Raymond just because they're on the top power play, I think that's fine. I'm not stacking anything. If I stack anything from Detroit as the top line, I think both Rangers top first and second line are in play as well.
Yeah, Zibanejad shooting the puck earlier in the year. Yeah, I think Rangers 1 is a line that you can definitely use. Cliffy's on Rangers 1. I'm on Rangers 2. You know what that means. Power play stack, perfectly acceptable here.
No, it means Alex Wenberg 3-point night.
Congrats, Jake. We'll just give him the early congrats.
Yeah.
I think he has 1 point since coming to the Rangers, but that line has been pretty good defensively. Colorado won with a 3.1 total. Heading into Edmonton, the Oilers have a 3.5. Colorado played last night in Minnesota. They effectively ended the Wild season. Not mathematically, but they took all the wind out of the sails, you could say. Edmonton won going Connor McDavid, Zach Hyman, and Leon Draisaitl. That line is 25,400. Colorado 1 here is 23,100. Colorado 1 is getting 18.5% projected ownership. Edmonton 1, we don't have Draisaitl in there right now. We have Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. They're currently projected at 6.9% projected ownership. So when Draisaitl moves up there and makes it $2,100 more expensive, makes it a double center stack, I would imagine it probably goes down. That makes them my preferred side. I just think Colorado back-to-back on the road. Yeah, it's going to be Georgiev in net, but he hasn't had a great season. Colorado takes a fair bit of penalties. Edmonton doesn't draw a lot of penalties here, but I think if I was playing one of these lines here tonight, and I've already stated I'm probably not going to be spending up into the 20s, it would be spending all the way up to 25-4 for Edmonton 1. I just think it is the better matchup. Famous last words there, but going into McKinnon, Rantanen, and Drouin at home is a little bit easier than going into an Edmonton team that has a good penalty kill, that has been good defensively since Knobloch has been there. Colorado 1, perfectly fine. They're matchup proof. Both these lines are matchup proof. They kind of cancel each other out a little bit going into each other, and that's kind of why I'm probably not going to be spending up. But if I was, it would be for Edmonton here. Obviously, I think Colorado 1 is fine. The depth lines here, I don't have a ton of interest. Just like, do I really want to stack Colorado without McKinnon? Do I really want to stack Edmonton without Draisaitl or McDavid? The answer is probably no. I like a one-off Lehkonen, sure, a one-off Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, a one-off Adam Henrique, whatever. But it would be top lines or bust for me, and it would be the Edmonton side. But based off what I want to do, they're just too expensive for me tonight.
Yeah. This Edmonton top line is currently constructed with Draisaitl, McDavid, and Zach Hyman. Not bad defensively, but closer to league average. And that's something that can be attacked if you're Colorado, obviously. And that Colorado top line, we know how good they've been basically all year. I was looking just since March 1st, 5.5 goals per 60 minutes, shooting under 13%. Even if they're shooting 10%, they're still scoring 4 goals per 60 minutes. It's crazy how much offense they can actually generate. There is a lot of ownership coming in on them, which is I found kind of weird. I guess not, because they have been so good, but 19% ownership, 36.2% top 2 stack percentage. There are goals expected in this game. I'm kind of on board with you in the sense, I don't wonder if they just cancel each other out. I was looking at McDavid's games against Colorado recently, a couple years ago, 4 assists in 3 games. Last year, he had 3 assists in 3 games. This year, didn't have a point in the one game he played against the Avs, so hasn't really done a whole lot. Nathan McKinnon is basically about as matchup proof as he gets. I said I wasn't really high on Colorado yesterday, and McKinnon went out and had a 3-point game with a shot bonus. So, there you have it. An assist at one game that they had earlier this season. Didn't play. Only had 3 games against Colorado last year. Put up a ton of shots, 5 points. I honestly think I'm more on the Colorado side here. Here's the thing is I don't understand what Edmonton is necessarily doing with these lines, because it's not like Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, and Zach Hyman were terrible defensively or anything. And I'm going to be honest. I think Nugent Hopkins is a better defensive player than Draisaitl is. So if you're going to put them into McKinnon, why wouldn't you just leave Nugent Hopkins there? And like I said, that line's been about league average defensively this season, at least under Knobloch, in over 200 minutes together. So I think if I were to play a top line out of this game, I would go back to Colorado. Like at 25 and change, like that's just way too expensive for me. It's one of those nights like I can feel a Connor McDavid 1 goal, 4 assist game coming. But I'm not going to be playing him. If I play anything, it would be on the Colorado side. And I have no interest in the Edmonton second and third lines. Like, I don't think these lines stick together all game. I really don't. I think, Colorado's depth has been pretty high event, but pretty good offensively. Middlestat and Lehkonen, 2.8 expected goals, 4.6 actual goals per 60. The Colorado third line with Parise, Miles Wood, and Ross Colton, 87 shot attempts per 60 minutes. That's about as high event as it could possibly get at 5-on-5. I think the Colorado depth can kind of, overtake Edmonton's depth here, and then they're going to have to switch up the lines to kind of counteract that. So I don't have any faith in Edmonton here, and Colorado's penalty kill has generally been good. I'm more on the Colorado side. Obviously, I'd rather play the top line. I have them, rated better, whether you want to look at point per dollar, raw projections, obviously, anything like that. But I do think those Colorado second and third lines are in play if you're playing like an expensive Carolina line elsewhere. So like a Lehkonen, Middlestat, Duhaime, I think that's perfectly fine here tonight. So Colorado 1, Colorado 2, not in so much on Edmonton.
We're on opposite sides. I'm sure that will middle perfectly, and we're both strike out. But
yeah,
I guess they call that straddle. I always say, I don't know. I'm no time for that rant. There is no time. Seattle Kraken with a 3 total heading into Anaheim. Los Patos de Anaheim have a 2.5 total. McTavish is out, I believe.
McTavish is out. Radko Gudas is in. Yeah. They called up Nikita Nesterenko as well. And Dostal is starting.
Nesterenko not in the player pool. Not that we're running out to play Nikita Nesterenko. For some reason, the chalkiest line in this game is Terry Carlson Killorn at 11%. I'm not exactly sure why. Like, we're probably the 2 biggest Ducks slappies there are, besides actual Ducks fans, which are few and far between. But 11% for that line in this matchup is just no thank you. I think there are a plethora of Kraken lines you can use here. Bjorkstrand, Beniers, Tolvanen, fully correlated on a unit at 13.2, 6.5% projected ownership. Eberle, Schwartz, Shane Wright, 7.1% projected ownership. It's their top 2 percentage is 1.9% though. Seattle's Beniers line 3.4% top 2 stack. Like, I think Shane Wright, Schwartz, Eberle is fine, but that's more for if you're using Edmonton or Colorado or Carolina, something like that. I think Bjorkstrand, Beniers, Tolvanen is more of a line that I'd be willing to use in like single entry. You want to use McCann, Burakovsky, Tatar. I think it would be like a McCann one-off there. You could even use Gord as a one-off. You know what I mean? Because like I know he's listed as a 4th liner, but he's been playing 15, 16 minutes anyway. So I think Gord is fine as a one-off, but it's Bjorkstrand, Beniers, Tolvanen for me. That Terry Carlson Killorn line, too much ownership for me. With McTavish out, I'm not exactly sure what the lines are going to be. It could be Zegras for Toronto Strome. That would interest me a little bit, but like going into, I know it's in Anaheim, but like going into the Seattle lines don't particularly excite me, especially with a 2.5 home total. I'd rather play Arizona, which we'll get to next. So it is that Bjorkstrand, Beniers, Tolvanen line for me.
Yeah, I don't want to play Seattle here tonight. Like, I really don't. Like, the thing is the whole reason why we stack the hell out of teams playing against Anaheim is the power play. Seattle doesn't have one. There's no power to that play. You know what I mean? Like, holy God, they're bad on the power play. And you know, we're talking before the show. They called up a defenseman, emergency call up today. We don't think it's Vince Dunn, but Vince Dunn took a couple of 10-minute misconducts and got kicked out of the last game. You know, if Vince Dunn's out, it's like, you know, back to Justin Schultz and Riker Evans running their power plays. Like, I don't really have a lot of faith in this Seattle team. And the other problem is like with the lines as they've currently constructed, they're back to that horse shit. Everybody plays 13 to 17 minutes stuff, right? Like, there was a time very recently when the top line was playing like 19 to 20 minutes a night. Tonight, we're not sure who the top line is. Like, we have Jared McCann, Andre Burakovsky on the quote third line. Would anybody be surprised if Jared McCann led them in ice time here tonight? Because I certainly wouldn't. Like, that's kind of the problem here. Is who's their first line? We don't know. Who's their third line? We also don't know. Who's their fourth line? Their fourth line might be their second line. And the fourth line might play as many minutes as the second line. This is what I'm getting at. And it's not like any of these particular line combinations have been that great. You know what I mean? The Bjorkstrand, Beniers, Tolvanen line, 48 shot attempts, 1.9 expected goals. Burakovsky and McCann, 105 minutes together, 1.9 expected goals. Shane Wright, playing in the AHL this season, had a good rookie season in the AHL, but wasn't even one of the 3 or 4 best rookies in the AHL. So, like, and then Radko Gudas is back in the lineup. Mason McTavish out. Like, I'm a big Mason McTavish guy. He wasn't having a very good defensive season. Like, this is one of those things where with McTavish out, maybe Lundestrom and Silfverberg get more ice time, and they've legitimately been great defensively. So, like, I don't know. There's something I don't like about this game. Like, Seattle only has a 3 total. I'll be like brutally honest right now. I'm not going to have a single Seattle Kraken forward in my lineup. I might have a defenseman depending on the news that we hear about Vince Dunn. I am not stacking Seattle here tonight. I guess if anything, it would be Bjorkstrand, Beniers, and Tolvanen. They're all on quote the second power play unit. Who knows which one is the actual top power play unit because everybody gets the same amount of minutes. This is socialist Kraken hockey. I'm just out on Seattle. I'm honestly in more on the Anaheim side here. Carlson, Terry, and Killorn, like, the reason why we didn't necessarily want to play them is that they weren't scoring goals, like below 2 goals per 60 minutes for a big chunk of the season. I was looking since the All-Star break in 100 minutes together, 2.8 expected goals, 2.5 actual goals per 60. Like, they're actually league average. And now, you know, Seattle is a pretty tough matchup, but you do get Terry and Carlson on the same power play unit. Seattle PK's been good, but not great. Seattle has been taking more penalties. Anaheim's been drawing, you know, league average power play rates over the last 6 weeks. I think going to that Zegras, Strome, Vetrano line is perfectly fine. I think Brett Leeson is going to be playing with Lundestrom and Silfverberg. They're okay as a shutdown line. It's Terry, Killorn, and Carlson I like best in this game. The problem is all that ownership that you were mentioning. 11% ownership, 3% top 2 stack percentage. Like, I kind of get it, but, you know, we went over Carolina's second and third lines being in pretty good matchups. Philly's second line has a good matchup. We'll get to Arizona here in a second. I just think there are other cheap lines I'd rather go to. The Carlson line from Anaheim, if anything, out of this game, but I'm not super excited about stacking either side.
Yeah, I mean, like, I prefer the Seattle side. I also don't think I'll have anyone from Seattle in my lineup. If that Terry line was like 5%, I would probably consider it, but like 11% on a 6-game slate with a 2.5 total. I'm one of the biggest Ducks DFS slappies there is. I just don't think I can wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Maybe. Stranger things have happened. Like Cliffy says, he's not above playing Casey Zizekas. I'm not above playing Brett Leeson. No, I'm not. I mean, we had a Brett Leeson segment a few weeks ago, and he had 2 goals in that game. But, I don't think I'll have anything from this game in DFS. Vegas Golden Knights with a 3.3 total. Heading into Arizona, the Coyotes have a 2.7 total. This is a fun game, I guess. Like, there's a couple lines on both sides I'm interested in. I'm obviously more interested in the Vegas side here by a fair margin. Eichel, Marchessault, Barbashev, 18.9, 17% top 2 stack, 13.9% projected ownership. This is a very good power play matchup. They are fully correlated. For that reason, I do like them. And I might actually prefer them to Rangers too. They're $1,000 cheaper. Better power play. Well, maybe not a better power play matchup, but they are fully correlated. So I do really like Vegas 1 here. I also really like, I guess they're in our top stacks is Vegas 3. Of Mantha, 11.2, 1.7% top 2 stacks, 7.1% projected ownership. That's kind of a bummer. But like at that price, I think it's fine. They're fully correlated on the second unit. Which like they get some time. It's not like Dallas Stars type power play split, but they get some time. They have very, very good numbers together in the sample that's approaching 60 minutes. They're going to get more than likely the Cooley-Krause-Genther matchup, which there's nothing really that scares me on the Coyotes side. They are a filler I am definitely interested in, especially if I'm using like the Carolina, Colorado, Edmonton, etc. I still think you could use them with a Rangers 2 or another like $18,000-$19,000 line. You're looking to not have to dumpster dive for defensemen. So Vegas 1, Vegas 2. I'm in on if you want to one off Chandler Stevenson because he's on the top power play. Like, yay, like good, cool. Like that's not something I really want to do, but like I get it because he's on the top power play unit. He'll be lower owned than the other guys. Yada yada yada. On the Arizona side, I don't think I want a full stack any line. I think a Keller one off is fine. A Keller Schmaltz, like with Bukestad up there, they haven't been great. They really have been searching for a center to replace Barrett Hayton all season, and they haven't found it. That's the issue that I'm having with Arizona 1 with 5.6% projected ownership. I think Keller one off, Nick Schmaltz one off is fine. Want to go to that second line? I think a Genther one off is fine. A Krause one off fine. Like that third line, Arizona 3, they actually have been really, really good. Ice time's a bit of a concern, but a Matthias Michelli one off is fine. Like Josh Doan plays like 11, 12 minutes. I think that's fine. But, I'm okay with them as a filler, especially if you're trying to get in Edmonton power play. But for me, this is more about Vegas.
Yeah, I do like the Vegas side. And as you mentioned, that William Karlsson line is perfectly correlated, and the Jack Eichel line is perfectly correlated, both on different power play units, obviously. This is, other than possibly Seattle going into Anaheim, even though Seattle's power play sucks, this is probably the best power play spot on the slate for Vegas. Arizona's been taking fewer penalties. That's the one concern. They're down to 3.1 minor penalties taken per game over the last 6 weeks. This is a team that was around 4 for about the first half of the season. So they have been more disciplined over the last couple months. Vegas typically doesn't draw a ton of power plays. Vegas power play is still not very good either, but the fact that they're both perfectly correlated is just what's drawing me here. Like, it's a 6-game slate. All you need is one power play goal. They can certainly do more than enough damage at 5-on-5 / even strength to get there the rest of the way. Eichel, Marchessault, Barbashev, perfectly fine here tonight. I'm not worried about any of the matchups on the Arizona side. Whether they use the Cooley line in a shutdown or whether they use the Bukestad line, neither has been that great defensively. Bukestad line, 3.1 expected goals against. Krause line, 2.8. So both below average, well below average even. Not worried about those matchups. Eichel, Marchessault, Barbashev have been very good offensively. 3.2 goals per 60 minutes. It's Jack Eichel return. Jack Eichel, over 5 shots per game in the 14 games since he came back. Like, that's a lot of shots. He's had, he's been very productive since he returned. We know how good Marchessault's over 40 goals, which just feels insane. Barbashev isn't quite on the same level as them, but he doesn't need a lot at his price. Like, I really do like Vegas one here. There is a lot of ownership, as you mentioned, 14%. I think 14% on a 6-game slate in a power play matchup like this is perfectly fine. I agree with you on the Carlson, Dorfeyev, Mantha line. Just talking about them earlier today on Twitter. Like, Carlson and Dorfeyev have just been really, really good this season in a pretty big sample, and they've been really good with Mantha in a small sample since the trade deadline. Not worried about any of the matchups from the Arizona side, second, third, fourth lines, anything like that. So just because they're perfectly correlated, yes, they're going to be the two highest owned lines, but that's part of the reason why they're going to be the two highest owned lines. It's Vegas 1, the Eichel line, Vegas 3, the Carlson line. It just depends on what you're doing with your other stack. The Arizona side is kind of weird because a 2.7 total at home, like, that's not nothing, right? It's higher than Anaheim that we just talked about. It's higher than Washington that we talked about earlier on the slate. It's just behind Detroit, who have a 2.8. Yeah. It's not like they're not expecting Arizona to stay off the scoreboard or anything here. Keller, Schmaltz, and Bukestad, I think, is in play. I'm not worried about their actual goals outstripping their expected goals, just because Keller and Schmaltz are typically such really good playmakers. They're the type of guys that can actually do that. It's actually something they did a couple of years ago with Travis Boyd. They did it last year with Garrett Hayton. I don't know why they can do it in a month-long span, Nick Bukestad. There are other lines in that price range that I prefer to play here tonight. Talked about Rangers 1 a little bit earlier. I prefer them. Talked about Buffalo 1. I also prefer them. But I think Arizona 1 is very much in play here. I also agree with you on the McBain-Michelli line. Just at McBain and Michelli, 2.8 expected goals, 3 actual goals per 60 minutes in 115 minutes together this year. Whether Josh Doan turns into a good player doesn't really matter. All that matters is that he's playing 12 minutes a night on a pretty good line. I fear that we've already missed the good Josh Doan games that we're going to get. Like, that's my big concern.
Josh Doan, the Shane Spencer of the Arizona Coyotes.
That's a good call. So I don't mind dipping down to them if you need, like you said, to mix them in with a super expensive Colorado or Edmonton or something like that. It is Vegas 1 I like best, then Vegas 3 as the filler, and then Arizona 1, and then Arizona 3.
Yeah, put Michelli on any line. He'll do some good things. Let's talk. Well, before we talk about defensemen, coming up after us, 5 p.m. MLB Live before lock. Greg Ehrenberg has recovered from the earthquake live on the show. I was in the grocery store, and Matt. 6 p.m. NBA Live before lock, Josh and Eric. 7 p.m. Playback Live watch-along stream. So if you're playing MLB or NBA, stay tuned for that. Let's talk a little bit about defensemen here. Top of the board doesn't really interest me too much. Maybe you have a different take on it, but I think the two that I would want to play are Fox and Shea Theodore. After that, you're going into the mid-range and the lower end. I think Jacob Trouba is fine if he plays more than 2 seconds for a DFS. But I think if I'm spending up, it's Fox and Theodore. Do you like any of the Carlson, Bouchard, Dollins, Makars of the world?
I do like Dolan. I like Dolan pretty much anytime he steps on the ice. It's just because he has so much coverage, right? He shoots and block shots, always gets a ton of minutes, power play 1, all that. But I do have Fox number 1 on my list. Fox, then Dolan. After that, it's kind of a bit of a drop off. I'm a big fan of the mid price range guys here tonight. Like Noah Hannafin's been playing he's basically their number 1 defenseman now. Like, he's not getting the prime offensive minutes you'd want, but he's been getting the most minutes, and that matters quite a bit. If Vince Dunn is in, I still haven't seen anything about that. Feels kind of weird.
Like, based off the Seattle fans' replies, they've been yo-yoing Cal Fleury up and down for like a month now, but like, you wouldn't emergency recall somebody for no reason.
Yeah, there's a difference between an emergency recall and just a recall. Yeah. Like, an emergency recall means someone's sick or injured or about to get suspended or something like that. So we'll see. But I do like Hannafin if you want to get the power play guy. Obviously Theodore is just fine. Moritz Cedar, I think this is a good game for him to rack up blocks and shots, especially with Johnny Quick in net. Travis Sanheim, I think, is in play, but I do like dipping down to Jamie Drysdale just because I do think it's not that bad of a power play spot for the Flyers. There's a lot of cheaper defensemen that I like as well. I'm not a big fan of the player himself, but Cam Fowler for Anaheim at home here tonight. Dmitry Orlov has been getting about 18 minutes for Carolina, which is perfectly fine. Don't mind Orlov. Drysdale, obviously. Rasmus Sandin, he's been getting 21, 22 minutes. He can block some shots. There's a lot of $2,500 defensemen in play here, too. Like Riker Evans for Seattle, especially if we get news that one of their defensemen is out. He's running a power play anyway, for whatever that's worth. Travis Dermott, 18 and 19 minutes for Arizona. Simon Evanson. We'll see what Detroit decides to do with their defenseman here, but he's 2,500. Henry Jokiharju, he's basically they're basically rotating 4 defensemen in Buffalo, and Jokiharju is the 4th guy. He's been getting some good minutes. He's been shooting and blocking a bit. He's 2,700. Don't mind him as a punt either.
Yeah, lots of low price guys that you could play. Excuse me. There was one that I had that I just lost. Oh, Olin Zellweger, if you are on the Ducks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's been getting good minutes. He doesn't get a lot of peripherals, but he has been hitting the score sheet, which is...
Yeah, and Mintyukov's out, so Zellweger will get the power play by himself. We'll see what happens to his minutes with Gudas back, but just having the power play time alone is worth it.
Yep. Let's talk about some goalies here. The boys are laughing. It is Quick in net. I don't have a ton of interest spending up for him. It's going to be Decord on the back-to-back here. I think I'm okay with that. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, if it is him at 8K, I do like. Fedotov is an unknown, but he may get overlooked because of that. And Buffalo has been creating a lot, so I guess you could play Fedotov in a GPP. There's a wide range of outcomes there. Just be aware if you are putting him in there. I think Darcy Kemper is fine. Just because it's Carolina, it's a high shot volume. It's possible he ends negative, but you kind of hope he gets the save bonus there. Again, another slate where if you love a goalie, you play him. I honestly like the higher price guys more than the punts, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I like both goalies in that Buffalo Philly game. Depends what you want to go. Like, I feel better playing Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen because we've seen more from him. But, Fedotov's supposed to be a good goalie. Like, they're not just throwing some schmuck in there. Lucas Dostal at home for Anaheim. Not that worried about Seattle. Like, Seattle can fill the net. Anything can happen in hockey. I'm not super concerned about it, though. I don't mind Kemper here tonight. The reason is like if Washington happens to win, like obviously Washington's a big underdog. If Washington wins that game, it's not because it's 7-5. You know what I mean? It's because it's 3-1 and Kemper has a great game. So might be a little risky in single entry because he could get just blown up in 10 minutes and yanked. But again, like if Washington happens to win that game, it's probably going to be because of Kemper.
Yeah. Agreed. Who you liking for your hat trick pick?
Andrei Svechnikov.
I am going to get spicy again. I went Luke Evangelista last time. I'm going Pavel Dorofeyev tonight.
There you go. I like it.
We will be back tomorrow. If you want to know who the Daily Deposit Frostback goalie is, click the link in the chat, sign up, and get in the Discord. It's very important. Your slate depends on it. We will be back tomorrow without the noise, but we'll see you tomorrow. Good luck, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Good luck tonight, everybody.